Hey traders, Clifford back with another video on how to trade the futures charts. So in the last video, we were going over how trends work and how to identify kind of like what is a trend basically. So today we're going to go into how to actually identify the beginning of a trend and one of the best techniques for that. So with that being said, we'll go on ahead and get started. Now, as the last video, we had gone over the three ways that the market can move. We know that the market can go up, which creates uptrends. Just to review that. So, like here, you kind of have an upward moving market. Another way you know it's an uptrend is because you have higher lows and higher highs. You see, the market is making higher lows and the market is making higher highs. This signifies an uptrend. Um, In a, however, downtrend, it would be the opposite, right? It would be lower lows and lower highs, right? Because, so like here you got a high, but then you got a low, then you got a lower low, then you got a lower high because this high is lower than that high, right? And lower low again, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and so on, right? So So that's kind of pretty much how the way the market can move, right? And then the third way we had said was that channeling, right? And channeling, again, I don't recommend trading it because it's just like, I mean, what do yeah, I guess you could buy here, buy here, sell close to the top of the channel, buy here, sell close to the top of the channel, buy here. But for me, um, it's consolidating and it could do this for a long time, but eventually when it breaks out, there's going to be a big move, usually. Not 100% of the time because, markets are unpredictable, but for the most part, when there's a channel and you watch that channel and you don't fall asleep, boom, when that breakout happens, you could get on board a huge trade. Um, so, so now today we're going to talk about how to actually know that it's a trend though, right? Or how can you get aligned with the trend. Over the years, I read many books, education, seminars, and I found one method that I think is the best. Um, some traders might say use indicators to know that there's a trend. When I first started out, I did use indicators, but now I don't. I just use the charts themselves, the naked charts, and basically all you need to do is there's one simple rule that I found in one of the books I read that really kind of was like an eye opener for me, and it was a man named Archie Johnson actually who owned a virtual trading university online, and I had joined that university, and he had been trading for like 35 years full time. In the beginning, of course, though, he struggled like most other traders do, but eventually he found his path and eventually quit his job to do full-time trading, and then 25 years later his way of giving back was to start a write books and education, right? So he said if you could find three bars and connect them together and align them correctly, you usually can find the trend. So here's what his theory was saying. It's called the three bar trend line method, is what he called it. Maybe other traders know about it too, but I had never known about it. So I'm going to share it today with the community. So basically, three bars, right? So what do we mean by three bars? Well, like so. All right, how can I? So like you see here, here's a low. And this is a daily chart, by the way. I only use the daily charts because I believe they're the best. You'll hear me say that in all my videos because I'm not a day trader. But this might work on shorter time frames, but I only use the daily chart, so keep that in mind. So three bars means, can I draw a straight line and connect three bars? Well, here you can, right? So you see here is the first bar, the second bar, the third bar, right? So if you could connect three bars together and draw a straight line, you could be aligning yourself with the trend. Now, it doesn't work 100% of the time, but I would say it works really good about 75 to 80, probably 90% of the time. And there's other factors too, but this really helps a lot. So 3 bars, and you draw a straight line. So then how would you trade it? Well, basically, if you know that these 3 bars are aligning the trend, and you just draw that straight line, whenever the market gets close to the trend line, if it's an uptrend, you would buy at that level. And then to protect yourself, well, we'll do stop losses later, but you want to put the stop loss like behind support basically, or behind the trend line, so you don't get stopped out, hopefully. So there you go. That's basically it. The 3 bar trend line method. And then as it gets close, here you go. There you buy. Don't buy on the rally, because you know you won't make much profit buying on the rally in an uptrend. Now, some people say you could short the market, but again, I'm as a trend follower, I would rather wait for the best price to get in the market. So I'm going to wait till it touches the trend line, then be a buyer here, right? Now here it didn't touch the trend line. Should you buy? I mean, you could, because it did pull back, but I would still wait till it gets the trend line. That's the best place you can always buy if it really is an uptrend. Now you see here, so what do you do when this happens though, right? Like here it pulled back and you bought, right? But now it's moving lower. Well, again, we'll talk about where to place stops later, but if you bought here and it's in the uptrend and it starts pulling back, you could get stopped out here. But I wouldn't recommend putting a stop at this level. We'll talk about where to put stops in another video. Um, you want to put a stop far enough away so that you don't get hit, stopped out, right? But as you see, this uptrend held, even though it went below the trend line. Does that mean the trend's over? Not necessarily. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But in this case, the trend held. Now, again, this is just an example. We're looking at the yen. And I mean, God knows what influences the yen these days, but I'm just saying, all kinds of turmoil, and we won't get into that. But we're just looking at the technicals, right? Just the technicals. So what do you do when the market goes here? Do you automatically move your trend line? No, you don't. What you do is you wait until it breaks above resistance. Once it breaks above resistance, that means the uptrend is now continuing. Now move the trend line back to encompass this low, because the trend is still active. Now, let's say the market would have reversed. You had your trend line like that, and the market completely smashed below the trend line, started moving lower. Then yeah, then the trend's over basically at that point. Let's look at another one. This is an uptrend example. Let's look at Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin, right? Um, let's see, 3 bars, right? So now we're going to look at a downtrend. Well, I see there's a top here, and I see I can possibly, would I want to draw the trend line from here to here? No, you wouldn't, because that's not connecting 3 bars. When I say what he taught is when the 3 bars can be aligned together in a straight line. There, right there is 3 bars. See that? First one, second one, third one. And now look, you draw a straight line. Just keep it straight. And there you go. You're in line with the trend. So what do you do? Now if we're in a downtrend, you want to be a seller if you're a trend follower like me. So when would you sell? Get close to the trend line, right? Put in a short position, put your stop somewhere where hopefully you don't get stopped out, right? And then as it gets closer to the trend line again, you could sell again. Um, and this is, you know, basically how you want to draw your trend lines. It's the way that I found that works really good for finding trends. Now, in future videos, we'll talk about what when you should start looking for trends to develop, like, and that's all kinds of stuff like fundamental stuff, seasonal analysis. We'll get into all that later, but for now, the basics here, how to draw that trend line. And let's look at one more real quick here. Let's do Oh, by the way, this is okay. Yeah, Bitcoin. We'll look at this one, the Russell. So like again, now, some of you may say, well, it's easy to draw a trend line on a chart that's already shown the trend. Yes, you're right. But I can only show you based on historical data. If this is a real market, like okay, so well, real quick. So here, three lines, right? Connect the three bars, right? Oh wait, right there. One. So here's one right there, and then two, three, and then as you see, the trend line held. Now again, you draw a straight line. Don't worry what the market does. If the market breaks above the trend line, does that mean it's over? Not necessarily. You got to watch. You got to watch support and resistance. We'll talk about that in future lessons. But um, when should you move this trend line to these highs? Only when it breaks below support, because that means the downtrend is continuing. So like here, or sorry, where's that support level? Right there. Okay. So like here, right? You would now move it to align the trend. Another thing he taught is sometimes you have to draw a secondary trend line if the market moves very fast, and then you could do the same thing again. You would do three bars like that, you know, three bars here, one, two, three, and we'll talk about secondary trend lines later, but I don't want to overwhelm anyone. But so this definitely works. Now, and then the last thing is, yeah, I mean, so if we're in a live market now, right? Like for instance, I've been following. One's one here. I've been following corn, right? I've been watching corn, and I was watching it here, and I actually drew. This was recent now. So that way, if anyone says, "Oh, well, he's showing based on, historical stuff," this was like just a few days ago. So I was looking at the corn market, and I had drawn my three-bar trend line back here in August, one, two, right? At first, it was coming sloping upwards, but then it pulled back, and then finally, I found the three bars that connected, which was one, two here, and then the third one was here, right? And as you see, that trend line held pretty good if you drew a straight line and you had a rally, right? But look at where we are now. So now we're back to the trend line. So what do you do? Well, what I did was I kind of drew three bars again. So I found one here. Oh, wait, I use blue for uptrends, red for downtrends. So personal preference. But so one, two, three, right? And I'm projecting my line straight out. So this is the real market now. This is not history. This is the live market. Corn, for instance. If this thing, so when would I? So let's say that I'm in an uptrend, and the reason I believe we're in an uptrend is because I see a double bottom on the chart. We'll talk about formations later, but um, so 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 because of my analysis, and again, my analysis could be wrong, but I think it's willing to take the risk on this trade. If the market pulls back to the trend line, I will buy this market, but I'm not going to buy at the high. So, you want to wait for the market to come to you. You don't want to just like jump in at the highs, because if you do and then the market starts profit taking, you're going to be like, oh man, I got in at the worst price. So, wait till it pulls to the trend line. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be watching this thing. Right now it's at 483, right? $4.83, whatever that is, right? So where's my trend line? Right here. My trend line is around 470. So if it pulls back, I'll do an alert and I'll be a buyer of corn. And I'll put my stop somewhere where hopefully it doesn't get stopped out, maybe like somewhere behind the trend line. And that's basically how you do this strategy. Three-bar trend line. It works. Does it work 100% of the time? No, nothing does. Anyone who tells you that, oh, I got this system that works 95% of the time, listen, the market is unpredictable, and no one knows what this market's going to do, okay? We're taking educated guesses based on, you know, where we feel the market could go, and we're trying to forecast the price. But all this stuff, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, in the end of the day, no one has a crystal ball. But we have an edge, and this is the edge. So that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like, subscribe, put your comments below. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. And as always, my friends, trade what you see on the charts. Trade well.